My name is Grace Nzula. I am a trainer with the Tara Solutions. And with me is Kevin Adipo and Catherine Sidandi, who is our sign language interpreter. And tonight we want to learn about leaving a legacy. And Kevin, somebody's asking, why is Kevin smiling? Well, I have no idea. He's here and he's going to answer that. So tonight we're going to look at how you can leave legacy. And one of the things that caught me about our speaker tonight is I was listening to something he had spoken previously, and he said, if you want to leave a legacy, you don't just leave it with your children and your just a small community. Writing books make sure that your legacy spreads across generations and that people can read even after your own generation is gone. That was quite an amazing look at things. So I was quite intrigued. And tonight you're tuned in to get to try to the Tara Solutions, which is brought to you by Tara Solutions in partnership with a few organizations. And allow me to just give a shout out to our partners. I don't know what's happening today. Okay, I got it. So we have Stallion Construction Company Limited. We have Pathway Solutions. Pathway Solutions Services is a training service company. You remember we had Frank Wambare, who was with us last weekend, or rather last Tuesday. He's the one who took us through looking for jobs abroad. Pathway Solution Services have trainings on their website. They have an LMS, which is a learning management system. And if you want to learn quite a lot about soft skills, HR, marketing, quite a lot on entrepreneurship, so much is loaded on their website. Make sure you log in there. And then we also have Vanessa Training Institute. Vanessa Training Institute is a carpentry school. If you wish to learn how to work with wood, then you need to register to Vanessa Carpentry Training Institute, rather. We have Wicklin. Wicklin is a cleaning solution services. They have a machine that cleans carpets within 6 minutes. So if you want to have your carpet cleaned, even right now when we are not too sure whether we have El Nino or we have dust, then you might want to get in touch with Wicklin. We have Suluhu Mediation Center. Suluhu Mediation Center, like the name spells it, is a mediation training institute. If you wish to become a certified professional mediator, please link up with Suluhu Mediation Center. I'm particularly a certified professional mediator with Suluhu Mediation Center. And of course, we have Profiles International. Profiles International are the people. I love their tagline. They call themselves Mold Culture. They offer quite a lot. They have a psychometric assessment. They're the only people in East Africa who actually offer Juno certified emotional intelligence coach. So if you wish to become a certified emotional intelligence coach, then you need to link up with Profiles International. We have Kapula Mintito. Kapula Mintito deal with cost of snacks. If you wish to get Mabuyu, if you're looking for cashew nuts, if you're looking for Simos gel, then Kapula Mintito are your people. Please check them out on Instagram. We have El Samea. El Samea, like the name, or rather, El Samea is a hotel located in Naivasha. If you want to take a vacation, solocation, whatever cation, I've seen on Instagram now they're saying, I need some kind of cation, medication, solocation, staycation, whatever cation you want to take. You might want to visit El Samea. They have an amazing ambience. And then we have Steadfast Quality Solutions. Steadfast Quality Solutions is a public relations and human resource consulting firm located in Kampala, Uganda. So if you're looking for a HR consultant or a public relations manager, then look no further than Steadfast Quality Solutions Limited. And this is headed by my good friend, Herbert Zakia. Thank you so much, Herbert. You are an awesome person. And of course, I want to bring to your attention, sorry. I want to bring to your attention what's coming up at Profiles International. They have a webinar. If you can look at your screen, they have a webinar on rethinking or rather rethinking team building, a webinar which will be on Monday, 23rd October, which is next week. So please do not be left out on this one. I'm sure Rose is on the call. She's gonna share the link. Please join Vicky Karuga and Miriam Kindia as well as Catherine Tolle on Monday. And this is a free webinar for all. Please make sure that you join. These guys do a wonderful job with teams. I can tell you that for a fact. This is like the third webinar they're having on Teams. So you might want to join this one. You'll have fun for sure, for sure. It's on Monday at 6:30 p.m. to 7:30. And if you know people, you know Mary Mukindia, you know Vicky Karuga. We've hosted Vicky Karuga. She's the queen of emotional intelligence. She's a wonderful, wonderful person. So make sure that you register for that. And of course, my favorite part of this evening is just to let you know that we have our annual meet and greet. This is gonna be happening on the 24th of November. This is gonna be fun. I am so excited about this. I am really, really, really looking forward. Make sure that you get your Touch of Africa now, and let's see you on the 24th of November at Weston Hotel in Nairobi from 5 p.m. Please come. Please come. Peggy Gaira, I know your kitenge is ready. Please come. It's only 4,500, and we're gonna have dinner. We're gonna have learning. We are just gonna let you know about the speakers as soon as it's in a few weeks. But for now, just know that we have very, very, our events. We don't joke around. Huh? So besides content, you're gonna meet wonderful speakers, and besides that, you're gonna network. And this time, we're not doing a cocktail; we're actually doing proper food. We're gonna feed you a dinner. So make sure you show up for this one on the 24th of November. Right. So, and I think the team is gonna send that. Rebecca Miner says he's ready. Hey, yay! I cannot wait to see you. I cannot wait to see you. All right. So at this point in time, allow me to welcome the most amazing person I've met this week. I am so blessed, by the way. I won't lie to you. The people I get to meet through these webinars, I am just grateful to God because they actually sort of changed my life, and I'm hoping that they change yours as we go along. We are on a mission to change the world through information, and I'm so honored that Dr. Emmanuel agreed to be with us today. Dr. Emmanuel, allow me to welcome you to take over. I know you have a beautiful, beautiful profile, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself. Thank you. Please take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace. Just confirm for me if you can see my slide.
Yes, we can. You can
put it on the presentation board. Yeah. So let's try to see what I can do here. All right. Just a second. Okay. So let me first and foremost express my profound gratitude to you, Grace, for this, other than me inviting me to be part of this wonderful seminar or webinar. And let me also say a beautiful thank you to my good friend, Mr. Herbert Zake. Zake is one of the most noble people I've met in Uganda. I'm from Ghana, but by divine calling, I am in Uganda now. And Mr. Herbert Zake is one gentleman that when he asks me to do something, I can't refuse. And so I'm delighted that I know Zake, and through him, I know you too, Grace, tonight. And by extension, I know almost everybody on this platform. And again, congratulations for the incredible work that you're doing. I'm not surprised that somebody is saying, why is Kevin smiling? I'm sure Kevin cannot be close to you and not be excited all the time. And so it's an honor to be part of this program. And I commend you for the wonderful things that you guys are doing. Particularly this topic that you guys have selected. How do you leave a legacy? And part of the reason why I accepted to do this is because that's the only way we can be part of the changes, the world changes of our time. And so my objective for tonight is very simple. And basically, I want to discuss the general, what I call the general principles and guidelines and the practice for writing, publishing, and marketing a book. Let me place on record that a topic of this nature cannot be adequately dealt with within 45 minutes. So I'm going to give just a snapshot of it, and then at appropriate time, perhaps when all of us agree that perhaps we should do maybe a physical session or one of the days, I wouldn't mind at all to be part of it. So basically, that is what it's about. We're going to be looking at the general principles and guidelines and practice for writing, publishing, and marketing the book. But before I do that, let me take a few minutes to introduce to you what we do as Human Capital. Now, human capital, our focus is on SMEs, and particularly women organizations or SMEs that are run by women and young people. And we do so by helping them to appreciate what we call becoming relevant on the continent of Africa, by deepening the understanding and skills in contemporary leadership and management thinking and strategies. And of course, our core values are excellence, leadership, professionalism, success, and innovation. Now, we've done quite a bit of work, and a part of our clients, as you can see, we do management training for Sheraton Hotel. Islamic Development Bank is our client. We do end-of-year strategy sessions with them. We do strategic leadership for most of the banks in Uganda here and across the continent. National, what they call NSSF Uganda, we have done a bit of work on strategic thinking with them. Now, when it comes to prudential assurance, which I believe is also in Kenya, across the continent, we've done creative sessions with them as well. And then Omeme, which is more like the power base in terms of electricity in this country, we've done some work with them, with their middle-level managers. We also work with international organizations such as World Vision and other, organizations which are what you call NGOs. Of course, we work with the military in areas of intelligence and criminology. That's part of the work that we do. So I want to zoom in on why do we need to write a book? And I guess on this platform tonight, professionals and perhaps people who are either close to their retirement or those who are accomplished, lawyers, HR professionals, and, secretaries, and what have you, even mothers and fathers who are thinking, what kind of legacy can I leave for my children or for the world? So I just want to walk us through briefly, what is the reason? What are the reasons for writing and publishing a book? Now, let's understand that books are containers of ideas and strategies for development. Now, everybody on this platform would agree with me that right from what they call kindergarten up to the university, you went to school to learn ideas and strategies published or documented or codified by other people. So when you write a book, basically what you are doing is that you are transmitting your ideas and strategies that have brought you where you are. Now, again, when you write a book, you give others insight into what has happened in the past, your value system for people who have shaped our lives up to today where we are. A couple of weeks ago, I was a guest speaker for the, what they call Institute of Certified Public Accountants of Uganda. And I was telling them that I'm looking forward to the day that we shall have another African Big Five, like the PricewaterhouseCoopers, the KPMG, and the rest. And I was telling them that those who call themselves certified public accountants, you're still writing papers and syllabuses written by other people that you did not meet. So when are we going to have our own African, if you like, mirror models that would speak to our challenges and our problems? So when you go into that architecture and you write a book for that matter, you are giving insight and philosophies that would help change lives and destinies and, if you like, systems, either in Africa or at the world, on the, at the global level. So when you write a book, these are some of the things that you do. Now, writing a book also authenticates your history and make you live forever on earth. Anybody who have read any book you pick up, the person may either be alive or may not be there. But what you are doing is that because the person took the time to write that particular book that you are reading, his legacy continues to live. And for me, that is the most important thing. So writing a book is crucial because it outlives a generation. Okay? Now, I tell my children, they say I shouldn't call them children now, that the best investment I can give them is not the buildings, is not the assets in terms of physical assets, but the best investment I can give them are the ideas, the values, and the principles that I live in them. Those are the things that are going to shape their life. The same way when you write a book. So your ideas in the book that you have written outlives you, and it goes beyond, far, far, far beyond yourself. And so therefore we can conclude by saying that the world is ruled by dead men and women. And here you see Nelson Mandela even contributed to his imprisonment. The day he came out, they all flew to South Africa to want to meet this gentleman. And long after he's dead, now everybody's wanting to be like him. And how did they become like him? By studying his ideologies, by studying his philosophies, by studying the values that he stood by. Chinua Achebe, those of you who have read literature, Things Fall Apart, and the rest. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, if you go to the African Union Commission, a lot of the ideas that are being pursued now, such as the African Continental Free Trade Area, these are all ideas and philosophies and ideologies that have shaped our continent today based on dead people's ideas. And so when you write a book, ladies and gentlemen, what you are doing is that you are going ahead of your time to shape the future that you envision. And on that score, ladies and gentlemen, if you look at all these people, Mother Teresa, Gandhi, Steve Jobs, Ford, Helen Keller, and then Martin Luther King Jr., how do we know these people? We have come to appreciate the incredible work all these guys have done simply because of the legacies they left. Tons and tons and tons of information have been written about all these guys. One of the people who stands out of this crowd is Helen Keller. And I'll urge all of you to read a bit about Helen Keller. Helen Keller was born very normal like you and I. But at the age of 8, Helen Keller became dumb, blind, and deaf, all the 3 handicaps. And if you read the history and the autobiography or the biography of Helen Keller, you'll be amazed how Helen Keller was able to write books and songs to the extent that he became a recipient of an Oscar award. And in one of those days when he was giving the award, he was asked the question, Helen Keller, how come you are blind and yet you've done all the things that you've been able to do? You are blind, you are deaf, and you are dumb. Helen Keller said, he said, to have a vision, okay? He said, those who have vision, but they cannot see, is the most tragic thing that can ever happen to a person. Now, how did we come by all these philosophies? We came by all these philosophies because books were written about these people. Legacies were left. And so if you look at all these things, ladies and gentlemen, when you dare, when you take the step, when you become courageous to write and put your ideas, to codify your values, your principles, your ideologies, it goes beyond you to shape a whole generation. Martin Luther King Jr. has shaped a whole generation. You go to America right now, the Black race, everybody is clamoring after the ideologies of Martin Luther King Jr. You come to Henry Ford, all the automobile industry in the whole world have become what it is today because of Henry Ford. So ladies and gentlemen, writing a book, it's so important for anyone who wants to leave something. So what it means is that when you write a book, ladies and gentlemen, you are contributing to the shaping of the future of humanity. And because we are speaking to Africans tonight, of our continent and the world at large. And so let me say that Africa, the people who have gathered on this platform, I want to urge all of you, I want to encourage all of you, I want to inspire all of you to write. Why? Because when you write about whatever you are doing, you are changing the narratives of our continent. Now, let me put this in perspective because it is very, very important. Now, because we are speaking to Africa, and everybody who has been to school on this platform would attest to the fact that until recently, Africa was regarded as the most darkest continent, the most poorest continent. Now, to the extent that if you look at the old world maps that were designed by our colonial masters, the continent of Africa was put in somewhere, a little corner somewhere, and we were made to understand that our continent was so small. But today, because of the revolution of ideas, the evolution of ideas, evolution of knowledge, evolution of ideologies, we have now discovered that Africa can indeed be the host of all the major countries of the world. And in fact, according to CNN, 16 countries out of the almost 100 nations of the world including all the big, what we call donor partners or development partners, we can literally lift the whole nation, the whole country, and plant them in Africa. And there will still be space. I mean, look at it. Look at a country like Madagascar. This country, let me put it out there so that you can see what I'm talking about here. Look at a country like Madagascar here. We can lift the whole Great Britain, United Kingdom, and put it in Madagascar, and it will fit. Not Africa, just Madagascar. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we are saying is that when we are able to write as Africans, it doesn't matter wherever you are. It can be about cookery. It can be about pharmacy. It can even be about farming. It can be about pottery. It can even be about hairdressing. You are changing the narrative of Africa because you are bringing something new to the globe by letting them appreciate the fact that Africans can also do something. And if you realize, most of the historical antecedents that have been written about Africa were written with some level of biasness based on how the white man saw us. And today, ladies and gentlemen, I want to encourage all of us to begin to write. Look at Africa, the only continent with a coat of many colors, like Joseph coat. We have 60% of arable land, 90% of raw materials, 40% of all gold reserve in the world, 33% of diamond reserve, 95% of platinum. You cannot have a mobile phone without Africa. And yet, a lot of things have been written about us that put us rather in a very disadvantaged position. The only way, ladies and gentlemen, we can change that narrative is when people like you begin to write. And that is why I commend Grace and her organization and her team, for putting this seminar webinar together so we can help ourselves to work together to change the narrative of Africa. Again, if you look at the 7 pillars that control the entire whole world, okay, this is the thing that really gets me get me going. Now we have what we call education. You have the family. You have culture. You have the mass media. You have technology. Then you have business. Then of course you have governance. Even governance. Let's take governance for example. A lot of the democracy being practiced on our continent totally disregard the democratic principles that Africa had before the white man came to colonize us. Take education, for example. A lot of the things we are reading and learning today are things that were handed over to us by the colonial master. Till today, most of our parliaments, with the exception of a few, speak English. And that if you cannot speak, if you can't speak English, and it doesn't matter how intelligent you are in your local dialect, you cannot be in parliament. Why? Because the very laws, the constitution that governs us is written in the white man's language. So what we are saying is that Africans, it's now time for us to begin to appreciate the fact that the only way we can change the future, we can shape the future, is when we write. And that is what must be done. And I'm so excited that Africans are now beginning to realize that we need to write. Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, he said, to succeed, you have to stay out in front of the change with a new and different mindset. And that is what we must do, ladies and gentlemen. And that is why I am passionate about the things that I talk about. Because the only way we can change our continent, the only way we can secure the future of our children, the only way we can secure this very last frontier of the globe, Africa, the only continent with many colors, is when we be in front of the change with a different mindset, with a different paradigm, so that we can change the narrative of our continent. So the question now comes that begs to be answered is, who then qualifies to write and publish a book? Dr. Emmanuel, you are talking about everybody must write, but can everybody write? The answer is yes and perhaps no. Yes, because everybody can write. Everybody who is passionate enough about certain ideas can write. If you have a clear idea that is worth documenting with the sole aim of impacting the world, and here I'll put Africa, please don't feel shy, don't be intimidated, write. And by the time I finish, you realize that even if you cannot write it yourself, you can use what we call ghost writers, and you can write. So number two, your idea would be there, but you also have to be passionate about the subject matter or the idea that I'm writing about. Now, you can see that as I'm speaking, the issue of passion is being demonstrated. I am passionate about what I'm talking about here because that is my life. That is what I believe in. I believe that the only future of the world is our continent, Africa. And so we must all be passionate about our continent and begin to codify, put in books so that the next generation can read about the things that are happening on our continent today. Now, if the idea has been tested and proved or proven through your experimentation, through your work, through whatever you have done, listen, gentlemen, don't hold it to yourself. Go ahead and write it. Even if only 100 people read it, you have shaped their mindset. You have shaped their thinking. And the question is, when should you write? When? At what time? I want to give you some indicators. Number one, when you have tested, proven the idea, and are competent in the idea. In as much as we are talking about the fact that everybody should write, one of the things that I strongly believe in is excellence. I wrote a book titled Excellence is a Choice. Now, when I wrote the book, the original title of that book says, when excellence speaks, people listen. But when the book came out after they have printed almost about 2,000 copies, we detected a small error. I gave the instruction they should burn all the books. Listen, gentlemen, yes, write of excellence so that those who pick it and read will know that this book is coming from Africa, because only the best can come from Africa. And Africans stand for the best, and we stand for excellence, and we stand for quality. Let nobody change your mind about that. So when you have tested and proven the idea, please put it out there in the public domain by codifying it. Why? Because when the idea has a value proposition and is needed in the marketplace, please don't keep it to yourself. So when you want to write, when the idea has a market value, and today I can tell you, from cooking to dressmaking or fashion, even to what we call furniture design, the world must hear about the originality of Africans. The African thought must be put in the book so that it will go out. And today, by God's grace, you can digitalize your books for people to read it anywhere beyond the frontiers of Africa. So I'm going to give you some practical steps to writing the book. And why am I giving you practical steps? I'm giving you practical steps because by God's grace, I've demonstrated this over 3 decades. I've written 14 books. And on my laptop right now, I have more than 20 books that are coming out. So I'm going to share some of the steps I have used that have brought me where I am to make some of my books become bestseller books. Some of them have sold over 1 million copies and what have you. You can do the same, ladies and gentlemen, if and only you are courageous and passionate about book. Start by conceiving the idea of a book. You cannot say, I am going to pray about it, I'm going to speak in tongues about it. No, think about it, have the desire, and say, I want to write a book. Just like you say, I want to take a bath, I want to have my lunch, I want to have my dinner. Conceive the idea, the desire, and say, listen, the next 5 years, I'm going to put my book out there. It's only unfortunate that in Africa, many people go inside their politicians who have become encyclopedia countries, and yet they didn't write these books. You have young politicians who have come out, and all they are telling us is about the white man democracy, about the foreign democracy, and yet there are people who have practiced our kind of democracy for a long time, but unfortunately they could not codify it, so people don't know. So you must conceive the idea, and then after you have conceived the idea, you must have a concept of the actual content of the book that you want to write. What do you want to write about? You must have an idea. You cannot just write about everything. You cannot be good in everything, but you can be good in something. So have a concept of the actual content of the book. Then when you have got a concept, please do research, what we call literature review. You are not the first person to write on that subject matter. When you're doing a PhD, they tell you that you are only contributing a small percentage to knowledge. Why? Because you cannot be the originator of the subject matter you are talking about here. So every subject you want to talk about, whether it's from marriage to cooking to furniture, whatever, somebody has written about it. So do your literature review. research into it so that you know the space, the gap that you want to fill. And then when you have done that, then you can develop an outline. As you can see, I'm only giving you the highlights because in 45 minutes, we cannot cover the entire session of a book. So another insight on the step-by-step are these. Number one, establish the purpose. What do I mean by that? Why are you writing the book? Are you writing the book for commercial purposes, for information purposes, or you want people to take a particular action? So, or you can write a book that would incorporate all the three. So you must have a purpose for writing the book. Many people write the book because they want to make money out of it. Some write a book because they want to inform. Some also combine the two. Yes, they want to inform, but at the same time, they also want to make money. All right. And then your purpose, the reason why the purpose is key, because the way you think about it, the ideal, the purpose, all right, the reason why you're writing the book will determine the style, the content, and the audience of the book. I'm going to repeat that. The reason why you must have a purpose for writing your book, ladies and gentlemen, is because it is the purpose that determines the style of writing, the content of the book, and therefore the target group that you're writing the book for. If you're writing for married couples, you cannot have an audience of teenagers in the book. If you're writing a book for, let's say, people who have been to prison before and how they can be assimilated into society, that's your audience. And you must have a purpose for that. And that would inform the style for writing the particular book that you are writing. Now, so why do we write? There are a couple of them. Number one, you can write to educate, you can write to inform, you can write to inspire, you can write to entertain, you can write to persuade. You can also write for academic requirement. At the same time, you can also write for monetary reasons as well. So you must have a reason, you must have a purpose for writing that book. And once you have done, the next thing you think about is, what is the title that you want to write? In other words, what do we write? Okay, the type of writing would definitely flow from the purpose of your writing. In other words, are you writing for academic requirement, or you're writing to make money, or you're writing to inform? Whatever purpose you have given to yourself will determine the type of writing that you are going to do, because each type of writing comes with its own style, its own content, and its audience. And this is key. So I want to share with you some of the types of writing that you can have. What we call creative writing, which is to do with poems, short stories, plays, movies, scripts, and what have you. You can also do academic writing, which is a technical article, an essay, dissertation, or project work. Then you can also do what we call business writing. It could be a proposal, it could be business plans, it could be concept paper, website for content, speeches, presentations, what have you. Then at the same time, you can also write what we call others, motivational, self-help books, religious books, articles, new features, and what have you. So these are some of the types of writing that you can do. So depending on the purpose that you are giving to yourself, you can then want to do. And I'm hoping that one of these days, Grace, you can organize a face-to-face session where we can go through this practically, where people can begin to, whatever idea you have that you want to put into writing, we can guide you to see how best you can write, you can go about it. Now, the next thing you do is what we call the voice, or what we call your audience. Okay? Now, it's important for you to know who you're writing for, because your target group would be so important to determine the style. Now, many times when people are writing, there's something we call the writer-centered writing and the audience-centered writing. Please don't be your own seller and buyer at the same time. So you must have a clear understanding of who your audience are and write your book with the audience in mind. The fact that you like your story doesn't mean everybody else will like your story. So let your audience determine the style and the content of the book. So do an audience analysis. Check the educational background, their socioeconomic, cultural, and every background, so that you find their standards when writing for that particular audience. This is very, very important. So know your audience, which I call audience research, topic research, read existing literature, and then get feedback from your target group. You can do what we call group scenario analysis, where they can give you feedback with just a small group, you know, and things like that to give you feedback as to what you're going to do. So we say learn, 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 and learn. Why? Because great writers are either prolific readers or learners. You cannot be a good writer if you don't read. And that's very, very important. So writing is about thinking. So if you want to write, do a lot of thinking. And how do you do thinking? You do a lot of thinking when you have a lot of information to do scenario planning and scenario thinking. Otherwise, you cannot write a good book. So this is very, very important. And I say here, the quality of your thinking shows in the quality of your writing. This is key. The quality of your thinking shows in the quality of your writing. So what are their information needs? The audience, what are their information needs? What style and voice speaks or appeals to them? I talked about style. What are the aspirations, challenges, and opportunities? What is their knowledge level, experience, opinions, and expectation in the area you want to write about? This is key. If you don't know these things and you begin to write, listen, gentlemen, chances are that you're going to write amiss. You're going to write and not have a target. And like Brian Tracy would tell you, he said, you cannot meet a target that is non-existent. So it's important for you to have a target audience before you write. Then what we call, this refers to the choice of title, okay? And the content development, you need to do that. Now, factors that influence the title are type of writing, audience, and style of writing. Now, so you can brainstorm, okay, with the target audience, or if you have a team of people, professionals, or whatever around you, you can brainstorm it. You can choose a title at any time of the writing. Normally, when I'm writing, sometimes I even finish the whole book before I take a title. You can change your title many, many, many times. And those of you who want to use publishers, your publisher can also change your title. But if you are self-publishing, which I'll talk about briefly in a while, you can also do, you can change your title many times before you go for printing. Okay, so that doesn't matter. The title can change at any time. So find out the standard content outline for the type of writing that you are writing for. That's very, very good. So you develop an outline for the chapters. You can put together necessary reference materials, info. These are all background work that you do before you start writing. Decide on the size of the book, the length of chapters, number of chapters, and sometimes after you have done your first rough sketch, the chapters can start flowing. You can either do your chapters ahead of time, or when you have done the first draft, as you keep reading, the chapters can start, emerging from the. So start with a draft, develop the main points, supporting points, example stories, and what have you. I'm sure during the question time, somebody's going to ask me, so how do you write, Emmanuel? And I'll share some of the way how I write with you. Okay, very, very important. Now, so let's talk about the style. Now, style here, we are referring to how you write. Now, it reveals the personality of the writer. Okay, you're impersonal, or are you an impersonal person or chatty? If you read any of my book, you see how I write. Are you authoritative or reflective? Are you objective or passionate, or serious or funny? Now, so your style will tell a lot about who you are. So the type of writing, the purpose of the writing, the audience, and the personality of the writer would all influence the style of the writer. So every writer, ladies and gentlemen, has his own style. You pick every kind of book that you want to write. Literary style, which is authoritative, impersonal, and stuff like that. Then you have business style, which I've talked about already. Then you have what you call conversational style. So you can choose any of these styles for the book that your first book that you want to write. And as I said, we can go into details of most of these things. The next thing is about editing. Now, when you write a book, you need an editor. It doesn't matter whether you're an English scholar. You may have a PhD in English. I would advise you get an editor, an external editor. Why? Because he's to prepare, to arrange, to review, and then to correct the publication. Sometimes you are looking at technical aspect, grammar, and what have you. Okay, this is very, very important. So I say, if you're an editor, you must get someone to edit your work. Otherwise, you go wrong. So we have three types of editing. Technical editing is reviewing the technique with a technical eye. Then you have what we call copy editing. The copy editing is correcting grammar, punctuation, spelling, terminology, and jargons. Then you have the proofreader. the proofreader sometimes will look at the electronic version of the book to check copyright violations and what have you, and to ensure that the typesetting and everything syncs with the way it's supposed to be. So you can be a good writer, a good English scholar, but I urge you, get somebody to edit the book for you. Then finally, you come to your cover design. Now, I will say that when you want to design a book, please, you may be an artist, but consult a creative designer. Consult a creative designer. Now, again, the design must depict the theme of the book, and I'll show you in a while. Let your target audience also inform the choice of your cover design colors. This is very, very important. A lot of times you pick a book and you wonder, what is this book for? Now, the reason why your target audience must inform the choice of the book is that you see, if you're writing for a particular target group, human beings are either left brain or right brain. And so, depending on the target group that you're writing for, if you're writing for people who are emotional, they are right brain people. If you're writing for people like accountants, like mathematicians, like lawyers, like what have you, they are left brain people. They are logical. They focus on facts. They are realistic people. Now, for such people, ladies and gentlemen, the color you choose matters. Why? Look at this table that I've shown you here. If I ask you to look at this table and give me only the words, not the colors, now you realize that those with your left and right brain will conflict. Now, your right brain will try to say the color, but your left brain will insist on reading the word. So, depending on the target audience that you are writing the book for, your cover design, the colors you choose for your book would inform that. And the creative designer, somebody who has been trained in this particular area, will be of tremendous help to you. And then I will talk about publishing, but I'm not going to go into detail because of time, so that we can have some question and answer time here. Now, if we're going to publish, ladies and gentlemen, there are a couple of things that you must know. Okay, we talk about you can use a publisher, you can also self-publish, and then when you are doing self-publishing, there are benefits that you can derive from that. But then one of the key things you need to know about publishing is about the ISBN number, which I'm not going to details right now because of time. Then we have something called copywriting. Now, there's some things that somebody, if you take my book, for example, in Sunday school, you have not violated the copyright. But if you're a company, for example, and then let's say the HR manager buys one of my books, and it's a soft copy book, and decide to share the book amongst every staff, that's a violation of copyright. I can make some good money from the company by going to court. And then also the way you market the book. If you're using a publisher, you don't have to think about marketing or distribution. If you're self-publishing, then you must take over your marketing and distribution. All these, there are ways to go about it, the benefits, the pros and cons of all these things. And maybe we shall go into detail. So let me conclude, ladies and gentlemen. And I conclude by saying that writing is hard work. Really, really hard work. It's only 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. Now, as I said, I've written 14 books. There are some of my books that I've written here. The first one is this one. This particular one is my autobiography. Then my second book, which I wrote in Uganda, here is The Miracle of the Mind. Then I come to customer service. Your talent creates your wealth. Success is more than luck. Why the rich get richer and the poor poorer. How to increase your income as an employee. What I wish I knew before the age of 20. I wrote this book almost about 30 years ago. What I wish I knew before the age of 20. Then I wrote the book, The Tales of Great Achievers, and then Strategic Positioning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want any of this book, if you want a soft copy, you can go to this particular website. But then you can also go to this website, this particular website here. Maybe you don't want to buy the whole book, but you want to read it. You go to this website, you just pay $1, and you can read the book. And then when you go back the next time, you go and continue from there. So we are not buying the book in its entirety, but you read it. But if you want to buy the soft copy, you go to the Human Capital Books website, and then you can get it. Again, I want to advise you to go to these channels. We've introduced a program. Please go there and look at the videos there, and you can also subscribe. If you're an HR and you want to know more about leadership, want to know more about how to develop your talent and your staff and all of that, go to this YouTube, okay, at HCI for Africa. Go there, and a lot of information are there that you can there. But let me conclude by saying, Grace, that the Africa we all want, the Africa we all want. It's in our hearts. And that is why I urge all of us as Africans to begin to write. And it's not going to be easy, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be tough. That is why I'm introducing to you this particular converter. Now, if you see this converter, anybody who's an international traveler will tell you that there are some countries you go there and you cannot use your 240 appliances. You need a step-down, plug. Now, if you don't have it and you have a converter, this converter can help you to plug your machine into it. Why? The moment you put a converter into the main plug, it converts the power base into the current base where you are at. Why am I using this, ladies and gentlemen? As I mentioned, writing a book is tough. And we are living the time that, ladies and gentlemen, the timing we are in now is so challenging and so difficult. Sometimes we don't know whether to turn to the left or to turn to the right. And I'm saying that if you're one of such people who are determined to write a book, and it's going to be tough, I know, but I want to introduce you to an almighty converter. That when you connect your life to that converter would transform your limitation and bring you to the level where you can perform to your optimum. And that converter, ladies and gentlemen, is called Jesus Christ. If you're on this platform, ladies and gentlemen, and you are not yet giving your life to Jesus, you haven't accepted Christ as your Lord and Savior, Jesus is a converter, and it doesn't matter the level where you're at. Once you plug your life into this divine converter, this converter will turn your life around and give you with the power, the resource, the energy that you need to become what God wants you to be. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not given your life to Jesus, I'm not going to ask you to give your life to Jesus now, but I want you to say a silent prayer in your heart right now and say after me, say, Lord Jesus, I thank you for coming in. I accept you into my life right now tonight. Thank you for coming into my heart, and please forgive me of all my sins. And from today, Lord Jesus, take control over my life and take me to where you want me to be, so that as I begin to write for my continent, the gifts that you have given me will turn my continent around and make Africa the best of the continents of the world, because Africa indeed is the hope and the future of the world. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to end here, and if there's any questions, I'll pick them up. Over to you, Grace.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. You have so much energy. Richard, you got your match, eh? And that was amazing. Yani, I feel like I should now start writing a book.
We thank God. We thank God.
That was really, really awesome. So I welcome you guys to ask any question that you may have. But Daktari is doctor in Swahili. So doctor, there's somebody was asking about what do you call it? How they can get the book Something by the Mind. Beverly was asking that. Maybe you can share.
They're all on the website. The website that I gave, let me put it back again if you haven't if you didn't get it.
Are you able to post it on the chat so that they can copy?
Okay. Yes. Nelly, if you can put it on the chat for me, I would appreciate, if you don't mind.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, and Jane Olago says, please share your contacts, Dr. Emmanuel.
Yes.
So you can put that on the chat, maybe your email address or something. Andrew from HR Mao, it's really good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. And can see quite a number of friends. Now, if you have any question, please do. And I've seen one of ghostwriters we hosted on this channel a while back. She ghostwrites. But what happens when Emmanuel? There's a friend of mine who has been writing a book for the last 4 years, but hasn't finished.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How can we help him? Or what does he need to do? Like he's like that. Like
why hasn't he finished? We need to understand why he has not finished, because that will help.
He now has all the excuses of time or some things, yeah.
Well, it depends on how where he is. I mean, I can only share how I write my book. Usually it takes me about 1.5 years to write a book, and I have a very, very decent book out there. And I write on the plane, I write, in hotels, I carry my laptop with me everywhere I go. So like I said, it's hard work. You need to discipline yourself. You need to give yourself some dedicated time that you want to write. If you're going to sleep like everybody else, you cannot write a book. If you're going to eat like everybody else, you cannot write a book. If you're going to do things by the way normal people behave, you can't write a book, because you are adding extra work. Sometimes I block like a week, and I'll go and check into a hotel somewhere, and I'll do the writing on the plane. I'm writing. So, so it depends on the commitment you have given yourself to. It's like any vision. It's like any to-do list or goal that you want to do. But don't put too much pressure on yourself, because you give yourself a lot of time. You can decide that every day between, let's say, 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., if you are not married. If you are married, your wife may need you around that time, especially if the weather is cold. You know what I'm talking about, Grace. So you cannot use between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. to write a book. But you give yourself a specific time that you want to write. Like weekends, for example, you can create a certain time for yourself and all of that. So you need to make it an objective. And please learn how to say no. Some things that may come your way. If you can't do that, you're not going to
We've lost you, Dr. Emmanuel.
So in my book, Silence is a Choice, for example, there's a whole chapter on how to say no. When we say no to people, we are hurting them and get things done. So you need to, there is something that you want to accomplish, and that's how you can write a book. Every writer, they discipline themselves and give themselves a specific time that they have to write, and that's how you can complete it.
Okay. And Edwin is saying, how do you balance writing books and PhD demands?
Say that again.
How do you balance writing books and PhD demands?
And PhD demanding?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's almost like saying, how do you balance PhD and going to work? I mean, a lot of people are doing PhD, but I did mine when I was working. I mean, of course, I don't work for people, I work for myself. I've never worked for anybody in my life. So, I mean, using that, it's all about discipline. It's almost like asking, how do you balance taking your bath and meeting deadlines? You need to create time for it, because your supervisor needs your writing, your essay to come in on time. But at the same time, you also need to do the work that you want to do. So especially if you have a publisher, that's different. A publisher will give you deadlines and tell you that this time I need the manuscript. But if you are publishing yourself, which we didn't go into detail, but I'm sure at appropriate time we can go into detail, and all of it. You need to, it's all about discipline. That's what I said. It's 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. It's all about discipline. You cannot sleep and snore like everybody else and yet be able to write a book. It's not going to happen. You need to sacrifice some time. You need to sacrifice either sleep or something, maybe a friend. Every Saturday, you and your friends go out to have, posho or ugali with oxtail or whatever. You're going to have to say to yourself, okay, for this month, every Saturday, if we go out for 4 hours, I'm going to spend only 2 hours. The remaining 2 hours is for me, okay? Or like investment, for example. If you're going to spread your money everywhere, but you don't invest in your own self, you're not going to become rich tomorrow. So it's a question of discipline and making it a priority. We all have 24 hours, but you can create additional 6 hours to make it 30 hours a day by sacrificing some things. Okay, I always use television as an example. If you look at the spelling of television, it's tell-vision. If you take out the second E, tell-vision. People spend 6 to 7 hours watching television. What they don't know is that they are telling other people's vision, but their own vision, they don't have it. Okay, so instead of spending all your time doing other things, focus on yourself as well, and make sure that target you have set for yourself, you can achieve it. It's discipline. If you can't put the buttocks down, you cannot write. Because there's no you can write running. You can't write walking around. You've got to sit down. Bible says, write the vision down. Make it plain so that he who reads it can run with it. That's a book writing. You've got to be able to sit down and create an atmosphere, what we call intrinsic atmosphere. That's what I said. If we do practical writing, we understand that you've got to create that intrinsic right atmosphere to control the mind and knock off all the noises in the mind to be able to give you a serene concentration to be able to pour out your heart into the book that you want to write. That's how you can write. I write normally, like I said to you, on the plane. For the last 30 years, I've never slept for more than 5 hours. I'm going to be 60 next March. Next year, March, I'll be 60. But I think I'm younger than, look younger than most of you. Like, look at Kelvin's face. Kelvin looks like a 55-year-old man, okay? But I think he's very young. So you've got to discipline yourself, guys. You've got to discipline yourself, okay? And make sure that you put, exert what I call holy pressure on yourself and do the things that ought to be done. Jesus Christ said, I need to be mindful about my Father's work. And so that's it, the same thing. Vision without hard work. Like I always tell people, anointing without money is annoyance. So if you have a vision and you can't work hard, the vision cannot be accomplished. All right? So that's my answer to that.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel. We have 2 questions on marketing. Somebody says, I have written books in the past, majorly self-publishing. However, my challenge has always been in marketing. Right. And the Matilda says, how do we market books effectively?
Okay, so in fact, there are 2 ways. This day and age, I would encourage you convert your book into digital books. And if you have digital book, you open either PayPal or now you have M-Pesa. You have so many payment platforms. You can sell books online. The other way you can also do it is to give it to bookshop owners. The challenge with bookshop owners is this: it's like any other shopping mall. They take your book, they sell it, they use the money, they pay you when they like. You go there, they tell you the books have not been sold, but they have sold it. And they're using your money to do other things they want to. Meanwhile, the printer is waiting for you to come and pay him. But otherwise, you can digitalize it or sign a contract with them. You can supply them, and then you're patient with them, and then they'll sell it and bring the money to you again at their leisure. That's the only downside. But if you use a publisher, to use a publisher, there's a downside and there's an upside. If you use a publisher, the publisher then takes over the distribution and the marketing. The only thing is that you get only royalties. And royalties sometimes, depending on how popular you are, can take about 2 years before you get a small check. And if you're not popular, you struggle to get a publisher. The publisher would use his own money, print the books, and distribute them. So they make their own money before they think about you, the writer. Okay, that's the downside of it. So if you want to publish it, you can publish it according to your own budget. You can decide, instead of printing 5,000 books, let me print only 500. The only thing is that in printing, the fewer you print, the more expensive it is. So you can print fewer if your budget can afford, and then create an avenue to sell it. How do you do that? That's why it's important for you to write on a particular subject matter. So for example, you want to write about, let's say child upbringing. Once you write that book, then seek audience with schools that have kindergarten, that have day nursery, that have lower end of school, and then you go and talk to the PTAs. Then after you've spoken to the PTAs, you sell your books, or you go to churches, speak to Sunday school teachers, and what have you. Then you sell your books. So you build a speaking industry along the subject matter that you have written also, and that becomes another source of income. Then you sell your books. Okay, that's how you can also sell your books as well. But if we're beginning, I would encourage you to write and sell it in small bits. Once you become popular and people like your content, then they will come after you. Okay, and that's how it works. Like just recently, a whole bank has come for my book. They want to give to all the staff, which was good. I didn't pray for it. God brought them, which is very, very fantastic. All right, so that's how it is. Over to you, Grace.
There's another question that says, Anonymous, good evening. Assist how to prepare a case. You might want to give us more details on that. But Nadia says, in terms of getting audience feedback, how does one go about mobilizing a target group that is diverse enough to avoid groupthink?
All right. Can you repeat the first question again? I got the second one, but the first one?
The first one is not complete, I think. Assist how to prepare a case.
Oh, okay. Okay, so let me address the second one. So for example, you want to write about, let's say, customer service. Okay, I'm just using customer service as an example, and that will help me because I've written a book on customer service. Now I'll tell you how I wrote mine. Now, this was about almost about, if I'm not mistaken, about 25 years ago. I just come back from London, and I went to that time. We used to have postal services in Ghana, so I got to the post office and I wanted to mail a mail. I wanted to mail a letter. The lady said to me, "I'm eating. Can't you see I'm eating?" This was around lunchtime. All right, and so you have to. That's time you have to queue. So I was in the line, and then I got into right in front of her. She said, "I'm eating. Can't you see I'm eating?" So I got away. I waited for about 15 minutes. Clearly, it was obvious that she didn't understand customer service. So what did I do? When I conceived to write the book, I did a lot of survey by visiting restaurants, visiting hotels, visiting other service delivery institutions, and engaging them. Sometimes you spend money to eat the food, not because you want to eat, but you want to know the kind of service, the nature of the service quality in that particular restaurant. And so that's how I did it. Then after I did a draft, then I brought together a few HR managers or a few HR practitioners, and then discussed with them, gave them the manuscript. Of course, these are people you must trust. Otherwise, somebody will take your manuscript and then go and publish it himself and think that he's the one who is the author. So people you trust, and then you give it to them for them to read, then they can give you feedback. So that's one way of getting feedback from a sample group of the target group that you want to write for. But again, let's take, for example, you want to write about children. Now, again, you can go to a particular school where they have PTA, and then do a presentation of the, a snapshot of the presentation that you want to, the book that you want to write, and get feedback from the parents. And then that's another way that you can understand whether you're on the right course or not. So there are many ways that you can use to get feedback from your target audience, depending on how much time you have and how, what you want to, how far you want to go with the book that you want to write. Yeah.
Interesting. And then Peggy says, more often we write from our heart and our mind. How do we tell what the audience wants? And for those of you who are asking for Dr. Emmanuel's contacts, they have been shared on the chat by Nelly. There's the website, and then there's the email address. Right. So yeah, you can answer Peggy's question.
How do you do what?
Most often we write from our hearts. How
Yes.
do we then know what the customer wants?
Okay. First of all, again, you cannot write from anywhere but from your heart and head. So you're not wrong from writing from your heart. But again, like I said, even though you're writing from your heart, you're not writing for yourself. You're writing for a particular audience. So the first you must know is that you must know who are you writing for. Remember, I talked about a writer-centered and audience-centered. If you write for yourself, it's almost like standing in the dark and say to yourself, "I'm beautiful and handsome." Nobody's going to marry you. All right. So you need to step out there, and then the people who are interested in you will then come and approach you. If you stay in your house or in your room and come and shabe, only angels will be praising you. They will be clapping for you. You are beautiful. But the guy will not come. The lady will not come. So step out there. What do I mean? Once you know your audience, let the audience guide the content of the book. Very, very, very important. Please, I am speaking from experience, okay? My first book I wrote was in French, okay? And when I wrote that book, and it was, at that time I was doing my A-levels, and I wanted to marry, and that's the only way I could raise money to marry was to write a book, and I used the book to do my wedding. And I could only sell a few. Why? Because I didn't do a proper audience feedback. So the few copies that I sold, even though it was able to give me some good money for my wedding, which was married in 1981. Grace, you see, so this is about 30-something years ago. Okay, so the book was written I think in 1989 or something like that. I sold only a few thousands of it. But the point I'm making is that don't write because you are interested in the subject matter. Yes, you may be good in that subject matter. It may be a very exciting area, but would people buy it? It's almost like preparing ugali with oxtail. And then you say, "Ah, my food is nice." And so you make it so huge. Only your grandmother, your father's, your grandfather, your husband's grandmother will come and buy. Unfortunately, because your wife's mother can cook, She didn't come and buy because she tested it and spread it around. And people tested it and they said, this is good. Then you know that when you do it big, people are going to buy. So please, and please, and please, don't write based on your own interest. Yes, you may be passionate about it, but does it have a market value? Is it something that people are eager to buy? And sometimes what you can do to test the market is to do a few copies and give it out for free. When you give it out for free, ask for feedback. And people give you feedback. Then you know that maybe you need to tweak here, you need to tweak there, and then before you put it out there, because the feedback is positive, but it needs a bit of tweaking. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. All right. And that's how, for those of you who like public speaking, that's another area for developing a book. My first, maybe my first 5 books that I wrote came out of my public speaking presentations. So as I did a presentation for about 4 years, and people kept inviting me and they kept loving what I'm speaking and all of that, then I picked the tapes. That time it was cassette tapes. Then I did a transcription of the cassette tapes, and then I edited it, added 1 or 2 things together to it, and then it became a book. So from my speaking engagement, that's how my first 5 books came out, because I was speaking on specific subject matter, on leadership, on personal development. 5 books. Like Wealth Creation, like Tales of Great Achievers, like Talent Create Your Wealth, Success is More Than Luck. All those books came out of my speaking engagements. Okay, so you can develop an industry of that, like what the pastors do. The pastors will pick their preaching tapes and then they will transcribe it, edit it, add more to it, and then it becomes a book. So select a particular area. And I'll urge those of you who are on this platform who want to write, please write from a position of strength. Select an area that you are interested in and write from there. And trust me, God will add his blessing and favor upon it, and you prosper in that area. That's how you write. That's how you do it. Over to you, Grace.
Amazing, amazing. And I think the last question will be, what is the period one can take to write?
Oh yeah. It depends. It depends on your availability. It depends on how important the writing is for you. For me, writing is not only a source of income, it's a passion. One of the things that I hate in my life is ignorance. You cannot be close to me and be ignorant. If you are a manager on this platform and you have a staff who comes to management meeting, and the first question you ask him, what do you think? He say, oh, I concur with what Grace is saying. The next time he comes to the meeting, you ask him or her, what do you think? He say, I concur with Kelvin is saying. You have a liability on your management team. In fact, if you don't sack that person, the person is eventually going to become a demon. You are going to be paying a demonic person sitting on the bench of your management meeting and causing you a lot of. You cannot be in this modern day and say you are ignorant about something. Being ignorant for the first time is okay. Second time is okay. But the third time, ladies and gentlemen, is becoming something else. So I write to eradicate ignorance, because ignorance is bigger than HIV/AIDS. Bible says, for lack of knowledge, my people are destroyed. One of the things I hate is ignorance. That's what makes me write. So write from your passion, write from your passion. Look, I mean, for me, if I'm writing, it's because it's coming from my heart. I don't feel tired about it. And like I told you, the things I do is a calling. That's my ministry. So I do it as any pastor or whatever. I'm not a pastor. I am a called people developer. I'm a human mechanic, and that's what I do. And so it's a passion for me. So if you're going to write because of the money, that's why you have a problem, because then you are going to struggle. Hey, when am I going to finish? When is this going to go out for money to come in and blah, blah, blah? No, write out of passion. And the zeal that the Lord will give you would bring it to pass. So, but it all takes discipline. Discipline. Like I told you, it takes me about 1.5 years to write a book. And therefore, if I determine to write a book, on this laptop, as I speak, I have about 20 books now. And most of them are complete. Okay? So you need to devote your time and make it an integral part of your life. And so you said, okay, every month or every day, I'll devote 2 hours for that book. That means if you have to go to sleep, don't sleep. Take a cup of tea and spend that 2 hours in the book, because eventually you are going to shape lives. You're going to change lives. And that alone must drive you and energize you, like Jesus Christ said, for the glory that was set ahead of him, he endured the cross. What are you enduring? So if indeed your passion is to change lives, then endure the sitting down and the sacrificing of the sleep. And believe you me, you can make it. You can make it. On that note, Grace, I think we can bring it to an end.
Yes. And I know you get paid to talk, so you might be here forever. And so there's one question that has been asked 3 times, if I may.
Okay,
what is
sure.
the recommended book volume for African readers? Because she says with their culture, with our reading culture, what is the size that is recommended?
Well, I would recommend with this day and age, with the young people coming and digitization, people don't like to read big books or big voluminous books. I would recommend, don't write more, don't let your book go beyond 200 pages. Stay between 120, 160, maximum, if you have to go to the maximum, 200 pages. I must confess, some of my books are over 200 pages. These are, and because it has pictures and what have you in them. Okay, but don't go beyond 200 pages. Africans are now building the culture of reading. Okay, so please don't go beyond 200 pages. And again, it depends on the target audience. If you're writing for young children or young adults and you make your book too voluminous, they can't read. So you can do volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and that also gives you more money if money is your motivation. But if you make it too voluminous, they're going to read. And those of you who've done economics, they'll tell you that if you have mass buying your book, it's better than focus on the few people who buy it at a much higher price. That will not take you anywhere. So focus on short volumes or shorter volumes and sell more so that you can write more. That's what I can tell you, because people don't read these days because of the social media and all of that. So please, once you do, digitize it. And please, one of the ways you can also make your writing skills popular, if you like, your first book, if you printed 2,000 copies, give 1,000 copies out for free. If you believe the content you have written is good, give 1,000 copies out for free, and you'll be shocked how many books you are going to sell eventually. Because people are going to read it, and it's going to help them to know more about you. And then do a lot of, if you write, let's say, on leadership, do a lot on leadership, apart from the book. Speak on leadership, do videos on leadership. If you can write articles for the newspaper. Here in Uganda, I used to write for Monitor, I used to write for New Vision on leadership and stuff like that. And that's how come people have been inviting me to speak on leadership, train their managers, do strategy for them, and all of that. So please have a giving heart. Have a giving heart. All right. That's why today, all over the world, God has gained so much because he gave Jesus Christ. One man, through giving, he has gained the whole world. So learn a giving heart, and you can gain a lot from that as well. Asante sana, Grace.
Thank you so much. I know we can be here forever. Kevin, I don't know whether you have anything to
add. Kevin.
I've absolutely been immersed into what Dr. Emmanuel was talking about, and thank you so much for creating time to be with us. I'm just grateful. Back to you, Grace.
Kevin is about to become an author at fifth grade.
No, but Grace, let me say this, that if anybody wants personal coaching with how to write and all of that, one of the things we do is I would encourage all of you, please write your autobiography. Don't wait till you die. Write it. I wrote mine when I was 50. Okay, write it. Share your principles. Share your values. The media, the digital platform, the social media is destroying the families, destroying the children. Please share your values. Let the children have something to read. Don't keep it to yourself. And if you need help, please, I think my contact has been put there, my email. Nelly, add the email for them. And please, if you need help, reach out. Of course, it will not be for free. But being a member of this platform, you can have a huge discount. I promise you that. And you can go and tell Grace I gave you a huge discount. If you want me to come to your company or church or whatever to help you guys to know how to write whatever, I'm available. Depending on my schedule, I'll come. Already, Grace has promised me ugali, so I'll be coming to Kenya for ugali and oxtail. I love it. Yeah. All right, guys, over to you.
Yes. So thank you so much for that, Dr. Emmanuel. This was quite insightful. I think we have really learned a lot. There's so much into writing books that I did not know about. So we are on a mission to change the world through information, and I guess this is part of what we want to do as we go along. So thank you so much, our audience. Thank you for being with us. Of course, I hope you have gotten something to take home, and I hope that all your questions were answered. And if you need more information, please don't hesitate to get in touch with Dr. Emmanuel. And if you're stuck and you cannot find the emails, please just get in touch with me, and I will be able to link you up with Dr. Emmanuel, and you guys can take the conversation to the next level. Of course, we are here as always every Tuesday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. And next Tuesday, we actually are doing the sessions up until and the last Tuesday of November, just the Tuesday before the meet and greet. So if you happen to be in Nairobi around that time, please welcome to the meet and greet on 24th of November at Weston Hotel from 5 p.m. We are going to have dinner. We're going to have wonderful speakers, and we're going to have good conversations, lots of dancing, lots of networking. And if you've been to an Atara Solutions event, you know how it works. Yeah, so Kevin, I don't know whether you have anything else to add, but Dr. Emmanuel, one-liner, your tweet, your parting shots, just one-liner.
No, I was just going to say that I would urge all of us to use the digital and applaud my good friend Herbert Zake. I'm here because of him, because otherwise I wouldn't have come. But Zake, I cannot say no to Zake. He's a fantastic gentleman. And for those of you who need HR solution, one Ugandan gentleman who has integrity, who is noble, and who is very humble, despite all that he knows. And I'm very, very proud to be associated with Herbert. Herbert, you are a good man. You are really a good man. And I'm glad that you are an African, that you are not a white man. You are an African.
And Herbert tells me that he's an old man. Choose, Herbert. Anyway, so thank you, Herbert, of course, for your support. We really, really appreciate you. And thank you for walking this journey with us. And I hope that we shall continue changing the world through information. And thank you very much for leading us in Kampala. And for this, please join our Facebook page, or rather, like our Facebook page, Atara Solutions. Follow us on Instagram, Atara Solutions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Get It Right with Atara Solutions. And of course, join our WhatsApp group. If you want to know what's coming up next on Atara Solutions, please join our WhatsApp group and you'll get to know what's happening. And we welcome you, of course, for the webinar on Monday by Profiles International on rethinking your team. And of course, we also welcome you to the meet and greet on 24th of November at the Weston Hotel. Our Facebook audience, thank you very much for tuning in. And we shall see you next Tuesday, same time, same place. And we shall confirm the topic for Tuesday. But I'm really excited. November is looking really good. We're going to be covering diabetes. We're going to be covering teams by end of this month, or rather building, rethinking your team building. And then we are also going to be looking at a host from Rwanda who's going to take us through mental health. And of course, you never go, this is Get It Right, and you will always get it right. So Catherine Sidandi, our sign language interpreter, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Of course, the team at Atara Solutions, Jacinta, Kevin, and Angela, and everyone else, thank you very much for always your support and making this happen. And of course, not forgetting Herbert Zake, thank you so much. We appreciate you. To you, our audience, we cannot do this without you. We really, really, really are grateful. So see you next Tuesday at the same time, same place. And for those of you who are coming for the HRM conference in Naivasha, please say hello. And we are starting on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. We have a session running on Tuesday. Or rather Monday, sorry. On Monday, we have a session running. So we shall see you there for those who are coming. And for the others, see you when we see you. Have yourselves a good night. Kevin, our DJ, is here. So today we are not going to close just like that. So, Mr. Dr. Emmanuel, may God bless you.
Amina,
God bless
Amina,
you.
thank you so much, and God bless all of us in Jesus' name.
All right, amen.